let's start up. Damn, let's do it. And if Andre's out there, we will call him in a minute, and he can open up the lines and see what's happening. And all he had to do is tell me there's a caller. He can open up the lines. Andre? Yeah, call Andre on there. All right, Beth, let's do it.
Okay,
sorry about that, Charles. I'm here.
All right, Andre.
Can y'all hear me?
Can you see? Can you hear me?
Yep, I sure can.
All right. Now here's what we're going to do. If you see the callers, now if you can deal with the music, you must be able to see my callers. Do you see my callers? I can see
everything. Yes, I do.
You can see everything.
So
now,
he can work your board for you.
Yeah, I got you.
Be quiet. That's what you do when you see a button or whatever. Let me know I got a caller. All right.
I sure will.
All right, let's go.
Okay, now I'm gonna merge you with my audience. I got you on hold. I'm gonna merge you with my audience. Okay, hold on. All right, we're back. You're listening to the Ron Mark Show and the Truth to Power Show. We have the technology solved. How are you doing today, Ron March?
I am very good, Bev. I'm very good. I feel much better now that we got everything going. I don't know if you think it could be a sabotage. I don't know. I know we got some bad operators.
I think it's a lot of something over there is cracked. Something is not connecting. You got maybe 2-3 things going on.
Yep. I can totally agree. And I thought I had it from last week to this week, and apparently I don't. So let's get going. Today's date is 10/21, and I was on yesterday, Beth, and I did a program. Did you get a chance to hear any of it from yesterday?
I heard some of it. You know, your audio wasn't that good. And if somebody can put in the chat room and let me know if you can hear Ron or not, so I'll know how the audio is. I caught some of it.
All right. I heard today we thought that first hour and 10 minutes was right on the money because the callers stayed, my chat room was full, and we took a break to take calls, and then we went out. And then today I got a couple of calls that said that the sound was bad. So I really don't know why. Okay. But what I was doing yesterday, I was talking about the secured party debt collectors. I mean the secured party creditor. And I did the history on it so that people will understand that the third party debt collector, which is attorneys, if you will, were commissioned all the way back, I think the year was about 1660, way back, when the Pope signed what they call letters of marque and reprisals. He gave the attorneys, and at that time he called them all profiteers. So I look at it as though they were pirates on the sea. And they were given permission to raid the ships, bring them into different ports, and put them through a legal process that they would give up, just like they got today, the courts, the Admiralty Court, the Maritime Court, where they'll give up their goods and or money or their life or go to jail, that type of thing. And that has spread all the way into the so-called United States of America, Inc. It's all the way over here. It's spread it all the way here. Now, those profiteers have changed their name to attorneys. They're really attorneys. That's what they are. They're really attorneys. And they're provocateurs. They're individuals who are sitting, waiting to put you in court system so they can take everything that you have and either or pay or give up your life or give up some jail time. Now, from what we did last week, man, we were dealing with some of the laws and rules and history of the European in America. And I think we stopped around 21. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yep, we stopped around 21. And I brought it back up again on 21. Oh, well, it fixed the camera. I brought it back up again on 21, and I'm looking at it, whereas they're talking about 1933 to 1940. Do you see that? Or do you have that up, Bev?
Yeah, you say from 1833?
1933. That's number 21.
That's number. Oh, yeah, I got it right here. Yeah.
I think we stopped at 21, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
Yep. And we told them last week that we would finish up. So if you want to start, and I'll stop you and add some understanding to it. So go ahead and read a couple of sentences. Yeah.
Okay. So, but for the people that might have not been here last week, this is the timeline of the Great Fall and Declaration of Law. And this is who wrote this was Anna von Ritz. And you say she's a judge?
She's a judge out of Alaska, a Superior Court judge out of Alaska. Yes.
Oh, okay. Okay, so this is coming from a judge that we're reading here.
Yeah.
Okay, number 21. And 21, she's laying out a time. She's laying out a timeline how this came about, how they did it in the different times that they did it. So 1933 to 1940, the banks took full advantage of the national emergency. They created and the Congress did everything the bankers required. The Shepard Tower Act, the Buck Act, the Alien Registration Act, the Social Security Act, the Emergency Banking Act, and more. The purpose of all this was to lay claim to the labor and the asset of the state and the people of the continental United States by securing private contracts with them, enabling the perpetrators to represent them and to set up corporations in their name. Hundreds of millions of... Okay.
All right, stop there, stop. Now, 1933, the education level and the understanding of America at the time was purely on the racist Ku Klux Klan type mentality, because everyone was afraid that that new deal was going to put them out of jobs or promote black supremacy, if you will, or whatever. So when this president instituted this so-called New Deal, although it was only set up to create a better banking system so they could steal from the people, they said to the Europeans that racism was the only safe land, a safe haven for them to keep black folks back. So coming out of the lynching periods of 1900 and 1910, 1921, when they were lynching and killing black folks like it was Saturday Night Fish Fry, they also started court actions going into the 40s to make sure that blacks did not move by using some of the laws that they were presenting to better themselves and live better. So it almost goes back, Bev, all the way back to the compromise institution back during the Civil War, when they had the compromise, the Missouri Compromise, and they told white folks, we're going to give you some freedom, but not complete freedom, but you're going to live better than black folks. So don't get upset, but we're going to help you move up to a certain level. So that compromise that they set up white folks all the way up till today, they live worse than we do, but they'll look at us and look at TV, and they keep portraying us as being animals, murderers, killers, fill up the jails. You see it all the time. So they'll say that we're better than they are. And one more thing before you start up. During this period of 1933 to 1940, the suicide rate in the United States was the highest suicide rate ever since man had been on Earth. Just that 7 years. White folks that had a property and had money and had assets, they lost everything because they had to turn in their gold and silver. And they just could not, for the life of them, figure out that they'll be able to live without that. So they would just, the report said they were just dropping dead walking down the street because they couldn't handle it. And some of your all of your glamour movies, such as that Betty Grable, Stephen Fetchit, I'll come back to him, but Betty Grable and those dancing and all the ladies dancing and kicking their legs up and all that kind of stuff, all that big fanfare, it was set up to try and show white people that they can live much better than blackies. So they used the dilemma of white folks living good in great fanfare and black folks like Stephen Fetchit and the rest of them niggas dancing and doing the boogaloo and y'all's a boss and y'all's a boss. So that calmed white folks down. So any movie you see that was made in the 30s, just look at it. It's so racist in its concept, you can understand what I'm trying to explain.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Go ahead. Hundreds.
Okay. Hundreds of millions of Americans were told that they had to sign up for Social Security and have a Social Security number in order to have a job, that it was the law and that Congress had passed it. And so, believing it to be a lawful government mandate, when in fact it was a corporate fraud scheme. They were subscribed en masse, remembering now the action of the corporate Congress in 1862, redefining the word person to mean corporation for federal purposes. And their later claim made in 1871 to hold ownership interest in all United States corporations, and seeing that their actions from 1933 to 1940 resulted in redefining the estate of living Americans as public trust, that is, as a form of corporation.
Yes. Now stop there for a minute. Once they started the process of all caps, and we're going to get into that in a little bit, corporations can only communicate with corporations. So they had to set everything up to make it look like or be a corporation so that they would trick people to think that United States government controlled all of that. So it made people think that they owed the government something, or whatever the government did, or so-called government did, they thought it was a lawful act. And when they switched up by making the original Constitution was the Constitution for the people. Constitution for the people of the United States of America. And then they changed it to Constitution for the people of the United States of America. For the people was first, of the people were second. So for the people meant that we were in control by common law. And of, when they changed the word to of, it meant that the government was in charge. And we unknowingly, and I'll say we, but we're talking to Europeans, because black folks were in rural areas by far, probably 85 to 90% of us were in rural areas. We had no idea where Washington, D.C. was. We didn't give a damn. We lived by ourselves. We did everything on our own. We were almost segregating ourselves from that madness, which was all good. But they were setting up this so-called government. Now, go ahead, Dad, a little bit, and I'll come back in a minute.
Okay, now I want to ask a question. In 1862, they redefined the word person to mean corporation for federal purposes. Now, last year or whenever they redefined the word person again.
Yes.
And so what's the difference between this person that they redefined compared to the 1862 person?
Because when they did it in 1862, they tricked the people that they were in charge of everything. Now they're going back to that because it worked then, so they say we'll do it now. So it's the same. If how they say it, if you don't know your history, you're blamed. You're going to repeat it. You got it. So since it worked in 1862, because remember last week we read and found out that United States of America, Inc. only controls 5 territories. When they say our states are the United States of America, they are only talking about 13 colonies, and here they are: Guam, Puerto Rico, Philippines, Virgin Islands, and Samoan Islands, Samoa, out there by Hawaii, somewhere out there. Those are the only islands that the United States owns. So when they say United States, they're not lying. You dig? But every decision that's made in Washington, D.C. only pertains to those 5 territories. It has nothing to do with you and I. But since they were tricking the people, now you got to get your mind back in 1862. White folks were just becoming free. Remember what the book said. The forgotten cause of the Civil War. It was to free white people, not black people. White people. We controlled everything up to 1857. So white people were still in bondage coming out of that indentured servant monarchy and the ignorance of keeping them in bondage. They were being sold on plantations. And if you study your history, they don't like to talk about the docks and the shipyards. They all are on the East Coast. What states are they in? They're in the 13 colony states. They said Rhode Island brought in more indentured servants than down there, half of the rest of them put together. So as we do this language, we have to be revisionists ourselves to look at that era and try to put ourselves into that and to understand what's going on. So they were so happy in 1862 to get some benefits and to all of those things. They didn't give a damn about changing the word from person to corporation because it didn't affect them because they were not corporations. They made it look like they was talking about General Motors, Chrysler, and Ford. You know what I mean? Now, today, we're still dominating. We're in the same position today as they were in 1862. So they cannot win it again. And everybody just complained. Nobody got on the microphones or in the news or on these talk shows and brought up the fact that they're full of crap. They can't do that. They're only talking to their 5 territories. They're not talking to all the people. You follow me?
Right.
Does it make sense? Or did I answer your question?
Yeah. But
See? Yeah. No, it didn't answer.
Most people are 14th Amendment citizens.
Yes.
So they do control them, correct?
Yes.
Or they control them because they don't know the 14th Amendment citizens.
Beverly, remember I told you got to keep up with the dates. In 1862, there was no 14th Amendment. 14th Amendment only came into existence in 1868. They didn't start adding, you see what I'm saying? They didn't start adding on to the Bill of Rights until after they got in control of 1861. They brought the 13th Amendment in 1865. They brought in 14 and 15 in 1868. They didn't do those things until they saw an opportunity to steal the country. To steal America, let me say it right. To steal America. So they didn't have to worry about 14th Amendment citizens back in 1860. They were worried about the war, or so-called war, and the land, the so-called land that they owned or thought they owned, because I got no information how they was not only stealing the land, they were auctioning acres of land for $1.25, $1.32 per acre, that type of thing, in those Homestead Acts. I'm reading up on some of that right now. So you got to put yourself into those eras, those timetables, in order to understand how they did what they did and how they got away with what they got away with. And if you know if they got away with it today, nobody said anything, then they had to get away with it back in 1862. Yes.
Right.
And don't forget, I told you the law that they tried to hide that we put on the books in 1795, which created what we know today as the Clearfield Doctrine, which said, this was in 1895, that corporations, now listen carefully, what do you call it? I'm ad-libbing, I guess. Corporations, if they go to court and the court suit is about compensation, money, and that's all corporations are about is money, they have to show up or be treated just like another person, another human being. Now, try to figure that out, Bill. How in the Sam Hill can General Motors walk into court? The building, not representatives, the building. Everything in General Motors is representatives, from the worker on the line all the way to the CEO. So that tells you, now they hid that law, and I do have a copy of it in 1795. But it explains this, that corporations cannot fool with you. There's nothing a corporation can do to you because corporations don't exist. It's a figment of your imagination. You got to get that in your noggin. Everybody got to understand that. There's no such thing as a corporation. It's in name only. They have to have representatives. We all know about Casper. They put that on the market just to fool you. Casper the friendly ghost. Nobody has ever seen Casper. Casper has never talked to anybody. Casper don't have hands. So how can they come to court? Are you getting it, Beth?
I got you.
All right.
And so now the corporation is owned. Didn't we talk about that the corporation is owned by the international bankers?
Corporations are owned by the
U.S. I'm talking about USA, United States of America is taken over by the international bankers.
Well, I can agree with that, but there's more to it. But yes, I can agree with that.
Okay.
But see, it's not really true the way you're saying it, because corporations borrow money and have to put in applications to get money from the international banksters. It's a process, a commercial process. So the true owners of the banks, international, and all corporations is the Roman Curia, the Vatican. the Vatican owns all corporations, meaning not only General Motors, Chrysler, and Ford, they also own Supreme Court, District Court, Appellate Court, 36th District Court. They own every court in America. All comes under the Vatican law. It's still under the Vatican law. That's why the Pope showed up. Because it's not working the way he wants it to work. And these corporations in the United States are being asinine in telling the Pope to go to hell.
Mm-hmm.
You got it?
Right. Got it.
That's a problem. But now they have a good reason to tell the Pope to go to hell. And I read up on that. And the reason is the people are asking for the corporations to take stuff from them. Meaning, that's kind of bold, but what I'm trying to say is nothing can happen to you unless you agree for it to happen. That is a fact, up to and including going to prison. Now, you have to be persuaded to go voluntarily. And some people can just get that in their minds. It would change the whole system of commerce in America. Just get it in your mind. All you have to say is no.
So when these young men go in front of the judge, well, first when the prosecutor and their attorneys, these third-party debt collectors here, when they had in the what do they call that, flea bargaining, and they agreed to it. So but all they have to do is get in front of the judge and say they disagree.
That is totally true. But now you bring down another situation. You got to get your birth certificate in order. That's the first thing. Because the slave cannot demand to be free. Because you signed up to be a slave, and I know you're going to disagree. When you were born, you signed up to be a slave. And if you don't tell them I don't want to be a slave, they're going to treat you like a slave. Your mama signed the paperwork. They told your mama that the baby had to be registered with the state. She signed that paperwork. Once she signed the paperwork, there was some hidden print, small print, that said that the government is going to take it and create a trust account for that baby, known as the Siskiyou account. And when you look up the elements of a Siskiyou account, there is no grantor. So mama was put out of it. Once she signed and gave it to the state created through the government the Siskiyou account and named it in all caps what the baby's name was and gave it an account number, which is a Social Security number. And the Queen and the Pope became the trustees of that baby. Mama was kicked out because there's no grantor in a Siskiyou account. Much different than irrevocable trust or corporations. They all have grantors that set it up, but there is none for the Siskiyou account. I hope I didn't confuse you, but that's clear as a bell. So
yeah,
you were a slave before you went home. Before you left the hospital, you were a slave. Now, you can't grow up to 35, standing before a judge or whatever, and tell them, no, no, no. You got to know who you are. You got to understand who you are. Now, there's a process. You need to learn the process. Now, let me tell you this. The word, I pronounce it allocution. Somebody in the chat room might help me on this. Right before you go to jail if you're found guilty by the courts, they say, okay, we're going to have a sentencing on tomorrow morning. We're going to sentence you tomorrow morning. So tomorrow morning comes up, they call you up front, and they say, Miss Beverly D., you've been found guilty of stealing chickens and watermelons. And the penalty for that is 5 years. But I see that you have children, blah, 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 blah. We're going to give you three years. Do you have any? No, before he says 3 years, he'll say, do you have anything to say about your conduct or about yourself? And most people will say things like, well, I didn't mean to do it, Judge. If I could get another chance, I'll do it better. All that kind of stuff. And then the judge said, well, in the power of me by the state of Michigan, I'm going to give you 18 months. And we will put 10 of them months on probation. So you're going to do 8 months in the slammer, and you'll get out. And you say, oh, thank you, Judge, thank you, Judge. That ain't the way it's supposed to happen. When that judge tells you that there's a penalty and you stole chicken and you're going to get 5 years, is there anything you want to say? You're supposed to say to the judge, yes, sir. You say, what is it? Number one, make me a better offer. I don't like 5 years. I want to be home with my family. I want less. You make me a better offer. He has to do it. I will not accept 5 years. Now, think about that. That is a legal process. It's called allocution. I can't pronounce it good. Allocution. Somebody knows about it. ALLOCLU something. THION, something like that. Allocution. Have you ever heard of that, Ben?
I heard you mention it.
Yep. Well, it's out there. It's out there. So it's something to look up. You don't have to take my word for it. Look it up for yourself. And you have the right to, you can't refuse the penalty because you were found guilty. But you have to accept the penalty of something that you want. Now, don't think all the judges are going to go for it because they got to put the fear of God in you. And if the courtroom is full, ain't no telling what the judge may do to make you think you're in trouble. Something like, if you say that one more time in this court, I'm going to add another 5 years on to what you got. Now your knees are rattling. You're scared to death. They do that in order for you not to do that to him. Him meaning the judge. And the judge is mad at the attorney, either one of them, the defense attorney, yours, or the prosecutor, because they should have known you was that type of person that might front that judge off. So it's always best to have it in writing. When he told you to come back tomorrow morning, you should have got some paper in the jail, or if you were put in jail, and wrote it out on paper. So you don't. The last thing you want to do is make a judge, embarrass a judge. There you go. And that's when you start having big problems, when you embarrass the judge. So you got to figure out a way to make it flow without doing it. And the best way to do that is have everything written prior to going to court. 8 to 10 days before you go to trial, you should have everything submitted to the court. Exactly what you want, who you are, and what you will tolerate as a penalty. All that should be in writing and submitted to the court.
Now, can a person do that even if they are a 14th Amendment citizen and don't have their birth certificate authenticated?
Yes. And I'm only saying that because Bobby L., who was here, he didn't have his birth certificate set up. But he knew enough about law that he could argue with them courts and bring up cases and stuff from his mindset. A lot of stuff you see on the internet, that YouTube, when you see those Moors arguing with those judges, they have enough insight of law because one of the rules of, what do they call that? Laws of equity, laws of maximum laws. One of them says, he who stands last wins. One of them says that, or something of that nature, which means if you got a strong argument, and I mean don't back down to that judge, and he can't answer you, you won. But they always try to trick you with some trash. And they always want to bring up laws that you never heard of before, or some type of process that you never heard of before. And when you can't answer, the judge says, well, silence means that you agree. Do you have an answer, Mr. Marks? I've seen them ask him during court, did you make payments on that house? Well, Judge, I was sick, and no, did you make payments? The paper says you're 3 months behind. That's 90 days. Did you make payments? And you just stand there like a dope because you don't have an answer. That's acquiescence. You have actually told the judge, no, go ahead and do what you got to do. He takes that as an affirmative for him to do what he got to do. But if you got a good argument, such as I paid for it when I signed my name to it, I paid for it. Now the judge is going to go to Nutsville. What the hell are you talking about? He knows what you're talking about, but he don't want the court. He said, well, what we're going to do is take a recess, and we'll deal with this later. Because I got to do this and got to do that. That's how he gets out of it. Because he don't want you to tell it in court what you're getting ready to run your mouth with. So it's all the game. So the best way to get free is don't go into court. That's what I'm trying to say. That's your best out. So you got to be smart enough and know enough. And that special invitation that you're going to take into the court and get it stamped by the clerk. If you have it written correctly, they will probably drop the charges. Because once you open that gate and go inside, you're at the mercy of that crook sitting up there in that black robe. You're in trouble. And they know all the games. So you got to have your head on, right? All right.
Okay. You can see that.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
You can see that the corporate Congress has claimed to own living Americans as assets belonging to their corporation, and has also claimed to control and own their private assets. In frequent violation of the Geneva Convention Protocol, Volume 2, Article 3, and an equally frequent violation of the 1926 International Convention on Slavery, and in violation of every lawful and moral duty, commercial contract, and trust indentured owned to the continental United States and the American people. It is also apparent that all of this, every claim, every salvage lien, every lien to land and property held under color of law, being held against the continental United States and living civilian inhabitants of the continental United States, is pure self-interest commercial fraud created and perpetrated, I can't say that word, perpetrated under conditions of systematic deceit, destructive fraud, misrepresentation, mischaracterization by the management of the federal United States, the various governmental service corporation doing business as some form of United States, and the British government.
Correct. So what they're really saying is they set this thing up to make you believe that not only do they own all of your property, they own you. And you, out of fear, think that they really own you, so you have to do what they say. And it was set up for you to tell them what to do. but you never do. That's why I always ask people, why do you vote? Why do you vote? The only good thing about voting is one process, and that is the government can say out of 100% of our voters, eligible voters, we get at least 42, 51% vote in all elections or vote in the presidential election. That looks good to the World Court, looks good to the Vatican, looks good to everybody out there that this government here is doing its job. That's the only thing that comes out of voting. And if you look up California law, I think it's 2000. I'd have to go back and research that. It tells you right in there the purpose of registering to vote is only a process that gives the government a right to do with you what they will. You give them a right to do anything they want to do because you are consenting to them doing a good job. The only way to make it backfire, not only not vote, don't even register. What the hell you register for? And remember, that's all voluntary, and you got people so strung out on it, not only will they not tell you who they voted for, family members, they get upset because you didn't vote. And I had to go with my wife to show her that my name is not on that voting list. And I went in there. This was several years back. Because I sent a letter to the clerk and told her to take my name off that roster because I'm not voting. It's fraud and it's crooked. Pay for it. They took it off. We went right in there. It was all black folks working the tables, of course. We was on the west side. And I went in with her because my name has always been right in front of hers. And we looked on it together. And she said, my goodness, it's not there. And when that lady heard that, she said, oh, don't worry about it. We can give you a ticket to vote. I said, shut up. Ain't nobody talking to you. I'm talking to my wife. And I'm not voting. And that's when, I tell you when it was. It was when Obama ran for election the first time. I did not vote. I don't give a damn who don't like it. I did not vote. And I did vote for him the second time. Because voting ain't my thing. Now, that's me. I ain't told nobody else to do it or nothing. That's me. Now, I found out is what they do. Every time you go to the Secretary of State and get any type of work done, anything, they bring your name up on the computer. If you're not registered, they ask you, oh, I see you're not registered. Would you like to register? They know. They say, okay. As soon as you walk out the door, they hit that button. Bam! They register you automatically.
Wow. I can tell you now they're not even asking because, I went to the Secretary of State a few weeks ago, and I got in the mail the other day a voting card. Yeah. They didn't ask anything about no vote. I'm like, what?
Yes. You got to do it again. Yes. I'm telling you. Yeah. And they asked me because they saw it right here on 7 Mile. They saw it. And she said, oh, real nice. I said, you're not rich. Would you like to vote today? No. I screamed. No. He said, oh, okay. And like you said, a week to 10 days, I got a card in the mail. Now, y'all should know something. I know they out there listening. It's a game. You're in a game, and you keep playing the same game looking for different results. It's called institutionalized racism is what they created. And they're not going to change the rules. So you keep playing the game, and then you get these Negro pundits and these Uncle Remus. Well, you know the rule. You get all these Negroes that try and show you how you can suffer peacefully, because what we're going to do, we're going to clean up the yard, clean up the park, and have a softball team for the children. And everybody says, oh, that's a good idea. That you ain't getting no closer to freedom with a softball team. Are you crazy? You see what I'm saying? So you got to make up your own mind. I don't know. I just tell you. If you don't wake up, you'll never be free. And all you got to do is wake up.
Well, some people don't want to be this is not for those. This is for the ones
right.
that want.
Right. It's more peaceful for them to just live the way they are and don't rattle the fence or don't shake the bell, and they say, we'll get on out of here. That's good. Yeah. But the system is going to make them make some decisions in the very, very near future. Because I understand that when the Pope came here in 2012 and told them that they wanted all debt alleviated by 2013, September the 1st, 2013, and they did not do it. Mm-hmm. And when the Pope sent people over to find out why, they claimed they had a whole lot of excuses. I don't know what they were. But the Pope said, okay, or somebody said, we're going to give you 3 years. So from the 13th to the 16th, that's next year, they said, if you're not doing what we say, we're coming in, we're going to send the hit squads in. And we're going to give you 3 choices. Leave the country, turn in your P numbers, or bite the bullet.
Now, who was he talking to when he said that?
That was they call themselves the White Knights, who the representative is this judge, Anna Von Ritz. They sent attorneys to the proper places and told them what was happening. Because the Roman Curie sent on the 4th of July this year, they sent a legal attorney from the Vatican. I don't know why he's from the Vatican, so I guess they can have attorneys over there. He sent a legal attorney from the Vatican and met with an hour and 40 minutes, I think it said, met with Obama. I'd love to have been a fly on the wall, but the bottom line is I am sure he set down some guidelines. Because a lot of things are happening around the world that they're not letting Americans know about. A lot. And that deals with what Russia's doing, what Israel's doing, and what's that other one up there? Iran. What Iran is doing. And they all come under the Pope. But they all are doing some certain things that are positive for the Pope, because he's trying to put everything in order for him to stay in power. He knows that his time is up. He knows that religions are about to, they're already gone. Religions are nothing the way they used to be. But there's a problem with us, because we were born religious, if you will, but not commercial religion. We were born within the Spirit of God, of our Creator, which makes us righteous. So whatever they do with religion is going to bother us. That's why we cling to Christianity, cling to all this madness, because we don't understand what's going on with our bodies and our spirits, and we think we should belong to the church and do all that stuff. That's why the preachers are so corrupt. It's madness. But if you don't have the insight to see it, ain't no sense us talking about it, because you ain't going to change. Because a lot of people are scared to change. When I tell them the Creator's going to get you if you don't do this and don't do that, you got a problem. So, let's continue. 1940 to the present. Is that where we are?
Yes, that's where we are.
Number 22. All right. Go ahead.
Okay. I'm trying to see. I think that's the last one, isn't it?
Nope. You haven't read? Yes, it's the last one. 22 is the last.
Because I can't find you might have to read. I can't find the whole 23. I don't have page 23. 6. I don't have page 6.
All right.
Okay, I got it. Okay, 22. I have it. I found it.
All right.
Okay, from 1940 to the present. Among the first actions to be taken by the criminals was to register all live birth. This established a claim of ownership on the baby and his or her estate, benefiting the state of Ohio or other federal state franchise This act of identity theft exercised via an undisclosed and forced contract with the mother of the child allowed each state franchise to control the name and the property of the baby.
All right, stop. That's what I was talking about earlier when they set this thing up. This is the beginning of the SISQ account, and they forced the mother to do it out of her ignorance of what they were doing to her. But most of them volunteered because they made it sound like you need a birth certificate, you need to register the baby, and we need to pay the doctors and all of that good stuff, and most mothers fell for it. Now, when they talk about the state of Ohio, all they're talking about is the fictitious corporation. Notice how it is, state of Ohio, when it should be Ohio State is the de jure. That's the de jure name is Ohio State. But since they've already done it, and we go back to 23 when they were talking about it, changing all the states and making them corporations and giving up all this Social Security and all that, they made the babies, all babies are wards of the state. And if you look up wards of the state, it means that you are an infant or handicapped, and they have to take care of you. That's what a ward is, and that's what they're preparing to do right here in that sentence. Okay, the perpetrators start right there. Go ahead, start up.
The perpetrators promptly set up new state franchises benefiting themselves using names style like this: Joseph Quincy Public, and new municipal franchises set up under the auspices of the Washington, D.C. municipality using name style like this: John Quincy Public. The only purpose for these, that's the all caps, okay. The only purpose for creating these franchise structures as various kinds of trusts was to act as a means for the privately owned governmental service corporation to hypothecate debt against the labor of the living people and their private property asset, and to exercise control over them, amounting to slavery.
Yes. So everyone that hasn't done the process is a slave. Now, I don't care what your color is, your nationality is, your income is, your income level is, it doesn't matter. Every mail comes to people's homes the same way, through the government. And nobody's ever protested that. This is why I say everything that happens to you, you ask for it or you volunteer for it to happen. Because you never said that person don't, whoever this all cap is, don't live here, and send it back. Nobody's ever done that. Do you agree, Beth?
Yeah, so what you're saying is a person that could be worth millions of dollars and a person that only make $20,000 a month, both of them are slaves. It doesn't matter what your income.
Yes. And the only reason you have $1 million person versus a $20,000 person is only because of privileges and benefits. Both are controlled by this government, this fictitious corporation known as United States of America. And all you got to do is look back this year at certain things that happened, such as the billionaire, or at least millionaire, Bill Cosby. We're talking about crimes over 50 years old. Now, are you telling me, Beth, that those women didn't turn him in? I heard a guy say on a talk show Why did they not? There's no police report nowhere in the United States that said Bill Cosby was a whatever you call it, a womanizer. Nowhere. Now, all of a sudden, 50 years, they all come out and is only draining his millions. I got to look at it like it is. I knew Bill Cosby was a crook or a individual way back when he was telling jokes. I said this on my program. I wish that lady, I knew who that lady was. She called up the show, man, and cussed me. Oh, she was so mad at me. But we got to talking about Bill Cosby for some reason. I can't remember the reason. But I told him, I said, Bill Cosby is not what you think he is. I said, I saw him on Johnny Carson's show. And on Johnny Carson's show, Johnny Carson asked him, what are you going to tell the black community now that you are a millionaire, that you made your first million by, you received your first million from drug lords? And he laughed. And he said, by the time they figure out what I did, I'll be dead and gone. And everybody in the audience laughed. Now, y'all don't know what I'm talking about, but I'm going to tell you what he did. Bill Cosby was a comedian. He went started trying to get into show business. Everybody knew he was a smart individual. What they did, when E.F. Hutton, the son, started making drug money through the corporation of E.F. Hutton. E.F. Hutton was one of the largest investing firms in the United States at one time. And what the son did, the daddy claimed he didn't know nothing about it, but what the son did, he started accepting drug money and running it through a washing machine. He was cleaning up drug money through E.F. Hutton. Now, y'all may remember, because Bill Cosby made that first commercial, that when E.F. Hutton speaks, everybody gets quiet.
Right.
You remember that commercial? That was Bill Cosby.
Yeah.
And he was paid $5 million to make 3 commercials. And he took that money, which was, you can call it drug money if you want to, but he took that money and went on into what made him a big businessman, which is cool. But my point in bringing it up, I brought it up then for a point, but I'm bringing it up today for a different point. And that is, he crossed someone. He was a millionaire. He crossed someone, and they decided to teach him a lesson. And they turned them women loose on him. And I understand there's over 50 of them so far coming out of the woodwork, and none of them complained when it happened. Now, you put it together. I do not condone what he did.
Who is to say it happened?
What did you say?
Who is to say that really happened?
Well, the courts are saying it because they number one, they're letting them get on TV to say it, and if he didn't do it, he could sue them for whatever you call it. He could sue them. You did, but see, remember, he started making
defamation of character. You talking about defamation of character?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And don't forget, he started making speeches on raising black kids with a better understanding of life. And the system does not want that. Now, I'm just throwing that at you for something to think about. So they may have told him to stop, and he didn't stop. So they said, well, we'll get you. And he doesn't stop now, I bet you that. Now, what you got to say about that?
Yeah, well, they laid it to he almost in the grave, so he didn't quite make it, but he almost there.
Well, he looks terrible, and he will never be back what he used to be. That's number one. And that's what you call crucifixion. They're crucifying him. They're dragging him through mud. Every day or every week or every month, a new one pops up. And them women are senior citizens now, which is understandable. So why didn't somebody back in the day Go downtown and complain. Or at least have it on record that he did it. Mm-hmm. All 50 women, and that's only the ones that came forward. 50 women, and none of them filed a police report? Oh, I think there's something wrong with that. And if he was doing it, a whole lot of others are doing it now. But as soon as you step out of line, they bring up stuff like that to knock you back where you're supposed to be. Believe me. And y'all, I tell you right now, I'm off the subject real quick, but you better watch Trump arguing with Bush, because he's already told Trump that his daddy wasn't shit. Excuse me, his daddy was no good. And he
Wait a minute.
Go ahead. Wait a minute.
Who daddy wasn't no good, Trump or Bush?
Bush. George W. Bush was the cause of 9/11. Now, we all know that, but they're trying to keep that secret. Mm-hmm. Trump put it on Twitter and told, first of all, Jeb Bush made a comment against Trump, that he was an idiot, in so many words. Trump said, okay, your daddy's an idiot. Because if he didn't cause 9/11, it was on his watch. See, nobody's ever said that. So Bush came back and said, well, one thing for sure, he kept everybody safe. And then Trump shot back and said, yeah, after the fact. I'll close my doors when all the chickens get out. It's time to shut the barn, close the gate. Let all the chickens out. That don't mean you smart, or that don't mean you're nothing but what you were. You left the gate open. They're still arguing, so all you got to do is turn on TV. They're still bickering at one another. And I'm sure they want him to shut up, the Jeb and Trump, before it gets caught on and these news people start looking at what Trump is saying. And Trump already said...
I remember when it happened, and I remember when I was on the air, and it was, if they dig, you don't have to dig deep. We were talking about it then. It was, and Jed was involved in it too. He was part of the security back then. They talked about how the men came in the days before, and they set the bombs up inside of the buildings. The building was exploded from the inside. So it was a lot of information on that back during that time. You don't have to dig deep.
But it never hit mainstream media. I totally agree.
We talked about it on Blog Talk at the time, but it didn't go to mainstream.
I'll say it again.
But I know if we could find it, it wasn't hard to find.
Beverly, I'll say it again. It never hit mainstream media. They say people on Blog Talk can say anything because there's no guidelines. Okay? We know, I agree with you, don't get me wrong, but it never hit Cronkite. It never hit David Brinkley, that type of thing. Yep. Okay? Nobody ever said where all that gold went, silver. All that silver went down in the basement when they took them big old big trucks in there and took out bags and bags and bags of silver.
What about how they filed the big insurance? They got insurance on those buildings right before everything happened. They filed like over $1 billion in insurance, or several $1 billion in insurance.
You're totally correct.
And nobody talked about the third building that blew up. It was the third building right there. And
building number 7. Building 7.
That building.
You're talking about Building 7. You want to shut anybody down, ask them about Building 7. And I've done it so many times, and nobody's been able to argue after I bring that up.
Yep. But there's another big way you can tell that it was planned, because there were millions of dollars invested on Wall Street a day or two before it happened. And the investment was that certain companies that was in that tower would go bankrupt within 30 days. Mm-hmm. Now, we talk about big companies that's been booming all the time. So somebody knew that something was coming. They called that putz. and they put it in a couple of James Bond movies. They talk about the puts, and the puts mean all you got to do. We could go right now and go back to Wall Street and tap the computer and find out who put money on all of those industries that were inside that building, and those are the ones that either did it or knew it was going to be done the day before. And they said they didn't want to do that. Whoever said that.
Well, a lot of the Jews didn't even show up that day.
Correct.
Correct.
Yeah, people were notified, just like at the other bombing in the other state. They were warned the day before, don't go to work.
That was out in Oklahoma.
Right. That's what I was talking about, Oklahoma. Yep.
But here's a good one. Anytime you have a crime scene, the first thing they do is put up barriers around the crime scene. Is that right?
Yeah.
They put that yellow tape up. Do you know less than 1 week after the building fell, China bought all of the steel that was in the building and took it back to China? Why do you think they did that? So there was no evidence to show that it was bombs that did it.
Yeah, because the explosives were put right in the metal. They were painted onto the metal. Yes.
Nobody ever explained that. So,
but then
anyway,
also when we did the research back then, also the Bush, if you look at their granddaddy, he was the banker that helped finance Hitler. And Hitler did the same thing. That's how they got the martial law in. Hitler bombed this the court building or something. When you do the research, he did the same thing, and that's how he was able.
You're talking about Prescott Bush. Yep. You're talking about Prescott Bush. He made millions at selling arms to or munitions to Hitler. Yes, you're right.
Jad Bush, he was part of it. When I remember doing the research, his name came up in it. So that was all. And right after that, didn't they come up with the martial law or something like that?
Well, they came up with Homeland Security, and it was all done for a reason. Yes. Yeah. So that not only could they solve more crimes, they could control all of the agencies. Yeah. Put them in the wrong area. All right, Ben, let's get back. Declaration of law.
All right. That's Craig.
All right. Andre, whatever you do.
Yes, I'm here.
Whatever you're doing, stop it. We can hear you.
I ain't doing nothing.
Okay.
You're not even moving paper?
Nothing at all.
All right.
Okay.
Let's go.
Let's go. Okay. The instigators kidnapped and pressed gang the people and the land asset of the continental United States by force, fraud, and deceit into the foreign international jurisdiction of the sea. Our own employees did this while taking a paycheck from our hands. They cannot claim that they were at war with us. They were merely criminals committing fraud against their benefactors and employers. The members of Congress stand notified that they do not represent the continental United States, nor the people of the continental United States. They have not occupied their lawful public office and have acted instead to occupy private, similar name corporate office at both the federal and the state level. They have no public capacity whatsoever and no valid contract obligating any American state citizen to obey any law, code, treaty, regulations, or other legislation promoted as an act of Congress, and while failing to occupy public office and failing to act as responsible fiduciary officers.
Yep. So what they're saying, man, when they change the names from Michigan State to State of Michigan, and they put it on the county building. They put it on the not county building. They put it on the county building. And they put the flag up there. They put it on the state building. That means that everyone in there works for a fictitious corporation known as State of Michigan. So that we're not attached to that corporation. We're only attached to Michigan State. So when State of Michigan passes the law, it don't pertain to us because we're not 14th Amendment citizens. I got to keep throwing that in there. Mm-hmm. All right, go ahead.
The members of Congress stand further notified that they and the corporation they represent have no lawful contract with any individual American state citizen born on the land of the continental United States, and that all claims, liens, titles, and presumptions against the living people of their assets on the land stands null and void. And I don't know what this ab initio for fraud all the way back to April 1862.
There you go. That's when they committed it. They started doing it.
And it
took it from 62 to 71 to get everything in place so that they could file for corporation papers in Delaware in 1871. Now, the members of Congress stood further notified that as presently constituted and operating, they have no public authority related to the continental United States and exercise only the power any corporation entity has. General Motors can't tell you what to do, okay? All they can do is have jurisdiction over their plants and the automobiles, but once you buy it, you have a contract. It's your baby, you know. So the government is the same thing. So, long as it acts lawful and within its charter, talking about General Motors, which is to say, the authority to organize their actual employees, set standards for behavior within their own corporation. General Motors said that you can't wear tennis shoes in the plant. They have a right to do that. And they have a right to send you home out of their jurisdiction if you do not obey. That's how powerful jurisdictions are. And that's what they're comparing United States of America, Inc. to. They only have power in Washington, D.C. and the 5 territories, and perform the functions stipulated by the charter and law-abiding commercial contracts. That in itself should make you wake up to what the United States has been doing. Go ahead, Bev, after that. I thought I'd give you a little breather.
Thank you. The governors of the federal state franchise are similarly notified and placed under public lien, required to release all color of law titles and liens registered under conditions of fraud against continental United States assets. Yes. The Joint Chief of Staff stands notified that they are obligated under the Geneva Convention Protocol of 1949, as well as the Constitution for the United States of America. I see that 4 in there.
Yep.
To come to aid and assistance of the civilian populace of the continental United States, and to protect the civilian population and its assets at all costs, and to prosecute those who have willingly violated Volume 2, Article 3 of the Geneva Convention Protocol, seeking to change the birthright, citizenship, and nationality of American state citizens of the continental United States by fraud, force, coercion. The Joint Chiefs are also under obligation to return all civilian property, unharmed and unencumbered, to the rightful civilian owners, to remove all colors of law titles and false liens against the labor and other private property asset of American state citizens, rightfully belonging to the land jurisdiction of the continental United States. So they saying
Go ahead.
So what they're saying that they're supposed to return our assets?
Yes, ma'am. But the problem with that is they can only talk to free men. They cannot talk to slaves. They don't say that. Do you understand? You said it earlier. A slave cannot declare his freedom. So everybody's going to have to step up to the plate as individuals. And then all of this can be done. You're mighty quiet, man.
Because I was thinking, can you come also as a nation of people?
Not if you're not free.
No, I'm talking about a nation of free people.
Oh, you can come as a, yes. The answer is yes. I won't say no more. Yes.
Okay.
But where are you going to get a nation of free people?
No, I'm just saying, I was just, I was reading some things, and I saw some people want to put together, a whole group of people, and it's a nation, like the Gully people. Isn't that a nation?
Yes. The Gully Wars, yes, people.
Yeah. And so I was reading up on some of the people that today, and they are under like a nation, aren't they?
But there's a problem. No, there's a situation with your comparison. The Gullah people never were subjected to birth certificates. That's why they were fighting, because they were free men. They had nothing to do with that. Listen to me, Ben. In 1933, I don't know how many black Americans or so-called Americans were here, but in 1933, I guarantee you, less than 5% of all black Americans were citizens of United States of America, Inc. Probably 3%. And didn't give a damn about United States of America, Inc. Now, what happened, Ron? One of the biggest things happened you can imagine. The government began to sharecropping, where most black people were in rural areas of agriculture and fishing and hunting. The United States of America began to delete the profits of all those types of living, and jobs became very scarce because the sharecroppers, they were getting bad deals and bad contracts down there. So they wanted to come north, but they only wanted to come north because there were jobs up north. And the government promoted information to tell them to come north. Because if you go back to Django, remember what that European said to those prisoners. You can either go back and tell the landowner or your slave master what I did and where I am, or you can go up north and be free like the rest of them. You remember?
Yeah, I remember.
All right. So my point in telling you that is what happened was the United States set up, when they gave you all of those names such as Social Security, FBI, CIA, and all of that, they left out CC, Triple C. Conservation Cultivating Camps, CC Camp. They opened up the CC camps for black people, and that made white people angry because they had jobs. Now, the CC camp, what they did, they went out into the wilderness and worked on the roads. They chopped down trees. Ferndale was built by the CC camp, where they cleared off all of that area and then worked labor to build projects and put them over there. Inkster, Michigan was built by the CC camp. Inkster, that's why you always had a blackie out there as mayor, because it was built by Ford in order to offset the Europeans that were in Dearborn that didn't want black folks to work in the plants.
Yeah.
See, all of this is part of history. Now, in order for the blacks to work, they had to do two things. Number one, they had to sign up. And signing up is a contract. Number two, they had to give up those Kunta Kinte names. Now, I don't know what they were, but we do know that they were not Fred Johnson and Ron March and all of that. Some of them people still didn't know anything about the European, but they knew they had to eat and sleep and work. So they signed up. And as they signed up, they started putting in the job, they started putting Social Security on them. You got to sign up. So once they did that, the Negro population of the United States probably jumped from 10% in 1933 to probably 70% in 1950. Or maybe a little earlier.
You're talking about up north or you're talking about
it don't matter. Well, you had to sign up. If there was any jobs controlled down south, they made them sign up. And when you sign up for the job, you created a contract.
Mm-hmm.
Then when they said you needed a birth certificate to send your children to school, now the problem starts. Because I know people like my grandparents, they never had a birth certificate. You understand? I don't even know if my mama had one. I never asked her. She never said anything about it. But I guarantee you, in your chat room, they'll probably tell you that them grandparents, they ain't had no daggone birth certificate.
No.
And the government didn't want to wake anybody up, so they didn't say anything. Let them go ahead and live. But the child, the babies, on a certain day, they needed birth certificates in order to go to school. Because we're going to send you to school free. So they said. And you fell for it. You didn't know there was a Siskiyou account being set up for you. So they started signing up. And as they did that, now you're creating all kinds of contracts which the government loved. And when the government got smart, they began to sell those contracts. Because I know my first contract of any value was in 1966. I bought a brand new Bonneville for $3,700. Bonneville Pontiac. And I had to sign a contract. Now, I did it the correct way, and that is I was in Hawaii in military. I had money. I brought the money over in a bond, used the money as collateral. They set up a new contract and a new bank account for me. Put that bond in there, which means the car was paid for. Then I made payment from the loan I got from the bank, and they made the 2.10 or 2.46%. I have no idea what it was. Once I paid it off, I got my $3,700 back. I had the automobile paid for, and I had interest on that money that was in my account. That's how it's supposed to work. But once they got smart, they eliminated that collateral and only used your signature. So in 62, just to give you an idea, that 1933 Assist-You account and all of that stuff had not got as far as Detroit with the auto workers at that time. It hadn't spread that far. You know, you just can't change something overnight in the United States. It takes time. And the Whitey learns that right off the bat. It takes time. That's why he sets up stuff. Like he can tell you right now where the Super Bowl is going to be in 2020 and 2040, all that kind of crap. Because they know it takes time to do it. We have been trained and we want it right away. So I got all of that back. I thought it was one of the most processed I ever seen. But they stopped doing it. They didn't want collateral. If you had a job, they told you had to have a job. And what's your income? They started looking at the credit reports. They didn't do no credit report on me when I bought that bodybuilder. Because the car was mine when I signed the paperwork, but I didn't know it, nor did the bank know it, nor had the bank turned over to that. You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
That's some good information. I lived it. I did that. I know it works. But they stopped it and started doing this crooked stuff. So you don't get nothing back. You don't even get your promissory note back today when you buy something on credit. You don't even get that back. They send you a letter and say, "Congratulations, idiot! You just paid for your house four times."
Yeah.
And we made a mint off of you, and we're still making a mint every day because your promissory note is floating out in La La Land, and they're still paying interest on it because we just sold it to China to build a chicken shack or something. We just used it as collateral for China to do something with it. And we still ain't called it. We don't even look at that.
Now, Ron, someone in the chat room wants to know, what about the factor of fraud? Does fraud make a contract null and void?
Yes. And there are rules for fraud. You should look them up. One of them is a meeting of the minds. If you sign a contract and you don't know what you're doing, the contract is null and void. That's fraud. Because the person that did it with you knew what he was going to do with it once you signed, but you had no idea. Now, when you buy a house, it's fraud. Every time you purchase a house, it's fraud. Because there was never a meeting of the minds that they were going to, number one, sell your promissory note to Wall Street, number one. You never knew that there was a clause in your warranty deed that said once you put your house up as collateral, you automatically become a tenant. Everybody should look for that. That's why they take you to landlord-tenant court when they evict you, because you conceded to give up your home to, I guess, to the bank. I don't know. You gave it to the bank, which means that you were renting. And when you're renting, because they have the paperwork, if you are renting, then you are a tenant. You don't know that. You call yourself a homeowner. You ain't no damn homeowner. You're a renter. By law. It's a trickery, but it's by law. They didn't tell you that. That's fraud. And all you got to do is bring it up and show it. And there's ways of doing it. Because everyone out there should ask themselves, I know you've heard of this before. Let me know if you heard of this, Pat. Secured interest. The court will say, there's, you have the house, but Wells Fargo has secured interest in your house. And Wells Fargo is nowhere in your paperwork. They're not on your mortgage. They're not on your daggone promissory note. You ain't never made payments to them. So you say, well, wait a minute. How the hell they get that? He said, well, they purchased your promissory note from Countrywide.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't tell you they sold it to them. They're supposed to. They call that, I wish Betty was here. Betty, if you're out there, call it. They call that assignee.
Mm-hmm.
Once they sell it to the next person, it's called assignee. They're supposed to notify you in writing that not only did they send it to Wells Fargo is supposed to send you a letter and say that they have received your contract. Y'all don't get that. That's fraud. That's fraud. We don't even think about it. We don't even know. All y'all can tell me is, and I know that person that asked that question, if they own a house, all they can tell me is, well, I've been in the house for 20 years, and at one time I was paying Wells Fargo. Next time I was paying Countrywide. Then I started paying Bank of America. Now, the law says every time that contract moves, there should be two letters, one sending it and one receiving it, and both of them should come to you.
That don't happen.
It don't happen because you can't, and that's why Countrywide got in all the trouble because they created that thing called MERS, MERS, Mortgage Electronic Register System. It's called MERS. And they, for some reason, out of trickery, they said, well, we don't have to send it out because they all belong to MERS. Well, that's a lie. And they started busting MERS for that because MERS claims they don't have any employees. All they have is computers, and the computers are only set up to track promissory notes. So when was I notified? If you sent it, somebody got to tell me it went. I just can't receive paperwork from some other place that now I'm supposed to start paying them. If that be the case, I should start sending out letters and say, oh, yeah, your mortgage moved to me. Start paying Ron March, finance company. Start paying me.
Right.
The only way to stop that is the original people are supposed to tell me, Ron March, we're going to send your mortgage and your package, your finance, to Countrywide. Start making payments. Your contract has not changed. Start making payments to Countrywide. So now you sitting and waiting. Here comes Countrywide saying you owe them. You should send them back and tell them to kiss it where the sun don't shine because I don't know who you are. They're supposed to send you a letter first to say that Wells Fargo has sent your account to us and we are notifying you that we do have it. So start paying at this address. That's what they're supposed to do. Mm-hmm. They never tell you that. So fraud is about the only and the best violation that you can use when you go after people. Always put fraud in your complaint. Always put fraud in your complaint.
And didn't you say that most people go to jail when they're dealing with the IRS is for fraud, not for not paying the taxes?
That's true. Because once you sign that paperwork, you're signing a contract that everything in the paperwork is true. So now you've committed fraud once they find out that you said you did that and you didn't do it. So they don't send you Go ahead.
Someone is saying that it doesn't matter because there is no allodial title in North America because the republic is abandoned. All properties is held in the state of.
Apparently they're not listening. Apparently that person is not listening. I just said that state of is illegal. Not illegal. It's fictitious. It don't exist.
Right.
So how are they going to hold it in that and you can't do it? They tell you that they
that's
have.
That lie. That's fraud.
Yeah, that's the fraud. That's fraud.
Yeah.
Because there's no such thing as state of Michigan. They did that in order to connect you. Corporations of America. Yes. I like to talk to that person. Well, either I'm a poor teacher or they just have a hearing problem. I just said that. State of does not exist. And colonial titles can exist, but they don't want to take it because colonial titles mean that you completely own your home. Most people try to put a colonial title on their property, and they haven't, number one, paid for it in full with the American dollar out of ignorance. That's one way. Or they haven't challenged that they own it because they signed their signature to it and won that battle, then put a colonial title on it. And there's one more way that I'm working on now, that your warranty deed, if you can figure out how to get your warranty deed, the original warranty deed, that will prove that you own the house. Because nobody's on that contract but the buyer and the seller. You dig?
Right.
Okay. So that would mean, but see, all you have is a copy of your warranty deed. Now that should make some bells ring if people have been listening, because all you have to do in order to make a copy, the original, is to, how do you make a copy of the original, Beth?
How do you make a copy?
Yeah. How do you make a copy?
You get it authenticated?
Yes. Yes. Come to the front of the class, man. Bring me an apple tomorrow. Be a teacher's pet. That's the answer. Authenticate your warranty deed. Now you own the house because nobody's name is on it but yours and the seller. And it says it was a legal transaction because the seller, they use the word seized, S-I-E-S-E-S, seized. They seized the property.
Dickey's Barbecue needs no introduction, but the Dickey's on Wycliffe near the tollway introduces a whole new look, new menu items, and new vibe, now reopened at 2525 Wycliffe.
Dickey's, we speak barbecue. 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 Barbecue.